Welcome to another exercise from the workbook Statistics. This time I'm going to talk about basics of statistics, basic statistical terms, and in particular I'm going to talk about the difference of continuous and discrete data. So let's have a look. Here we simply have decide for the following characteristics whether they are continuous or discrete. Then we have this list of 10 different aspects which we could measure. Well, let's work through all of those 10 step by step. We're going to switch to the next slide and start with the first one. Here we have the number of stars in space. Well, stars I'm always counting like 1 star, 2 stars, 4 stars. I cannot say like half a star or quarter of a star. That's why it's a classical example of discrete variables. That's actually a pretty neat idea to start with if you want to know if something is discrete. Can I say I have half of this or a quarter of something? If it's not possible and if you're only counting in integers, that's a very good indicator of a discrete variable. So with the part B, with ice as at the North Pole, that's not clearly defined. What do I mean with ice? However, this hints something at like amount of ice, quantity of ice. Then I have to consider, well, this could be measured in kilogram or in liters or something like this. And all of these would actually be continuous measurements. So ice at the North Pole, excluding like number of icebergs, would be a classical continuous example. Similarly, the length of anything could be subdivided in smaller units. Could start with meters, centimeters, millimeters, something like this. So could make it smaller and smaller or larger and larger. That's again also an indicator of a continuous variable. Similarly to the stars in space, where I'm going to count them, I have this example of cigarettes and Star Wars books. In both cases, I'm able to count. I have like 1 cigarette, 2 cigarettes, 8 books, 20 books in a series. But I'm not going to talk about that a pack has like 0.2 cigarettes or that there is quarter of a book available. Normally this does not occur and well, it doesn't really make so much sense. So here we're going to talk about classical discrete variables. The duration of a YouTube video, on the other hand, is a pretty interesting thing because, well, someone might say, yeah, it's time measure. And time can be subdivided as far as it goes. So far would be continuous. On the other hand, YouTube always reports only minutes and seconds. So in this case, it would be discrete if you consider what they are showing you. So I would go with it's quasi-continuous. Even though it's shown as discrete, we can consider this due to the fact that it's about time measurement. You can consider this as continuous and work with it as if it were continuous. Similarly, always all the information we're going to talk about regarding money, we're making a stop at the cents level. So we're going, if we're working with euros or with dollars, we're always going like $5.90. We're not going like 5.900812. So in this case, it would be discrete. But on the other hand, we can interpret this in a way that it could theoretically be subdivided much further. That's why here we have a similar situation and have to call this more or less quasi-continuous. Whereas the duration of YouTube videos could be considered discrete due to the display type, if I'm just talking about durations and times, that's mostly continuous. So here I could say the same thing if I measure this in the same way as the YouTube video, but it would rather be continuous. Similarly, for the volume of sounds, that definitely is because, well, you can subdivide this as far as you want. That's a classical continuous example. And then finally we have the price of a bottle of water. That's similar to the lotto winnings. Since we are only going with like 2 decimal points after euros or dollars, this could be considered discrete, but we're going to work with this as if it were continuous. And that's why I'm going to call this again discrete or quasi-continuous. Well, that's everything there is to this unit. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm saying goodbye and see you next time.